So, I'm going to be trying something a little bit different this time. For this video, I'll be doing a bit of a voiceover throughout the highlights of the Hereford Winter Enduro Round 3. Qualifying didn't go too well. It was quite greasy as the rain started to come down, and it made it very tricky. I got caught in some traffic in the last couple of laps as well, which really compromised my qualifying time as everyone was setting better times towards the end. I ended up being 1.1 seconds off pole, starting P5, so I knew I needed a good race. It was crucial here for me to get a good start to try and make positions straight off the back, and luckily I made it down the inside, which gave me the inside into turn 2, making a move on my championship rival James Kimberley as well, so already making up 2 positions from starting in P5 and up into 3rd now. As you can see, I did slip a little bit wide there. If he wasn't on the racing line, the outside was still quite greasy. As you can see, my competitor ahead of me there as well, Joshua Davies from the Mercedes Racing, he went a little bit wide there on the hairpin as well. So you can see the track wasn't fully dry yet in areas, so it was really important to stay on the racing line. Heading into turn 1 now. This is the first time so far this race I actually got the correct line, and as you can see I get a nice exit as well. A driver just ahead of me is a driver that's already done a pit stop. He made an early pit stop, so it was important for me to get the move done straight away to keep with P2. Get a nice run off the bridge. I'm right on the bumper of Joshua and he leaves the door open, so I capitalise on that, making the move up into P2. But as you can see, Tom Northcott, who was P1, is already around the hairpin, heading into the 2nd hairpin now, so he's already made a big gap. So at this stage, I'm kind of overdriving, to be honest, and I wanted to try and stay consistent, but as you can see, I'm hitting the tyre wall there, which is costing me a bit of time. I didn't want the gap to extend too much more. If anything, I want to try and claw it in. I knew Tom Northcote was fast, so it wasn't going to be an easy challenge, but it was really important to stay consistent, and hopefully he makes a mistake for my sake anyways, and I could try and claw him in, but it wasn't going to be an easy challenge by any means. So as you can see up ahead, the gap has dramatically closed. Tom Northcote, who's in the green helmet, he is the race leader at the moment. James Kimberley, who has made an early pit stop, is battling hard with him. So I knew at this point this was my opportunity to try and close the gap and try and be in contention for a potential race win. That gap that I made has suddenly started to disappear. I've got to give credit to Tom Northcote. He's a very fast driver, and him and James, who have stopped battling, has now meant that he's pulling away, and I'm kind of a sitting duck at this point. I can't really do much about it, so I've got to keep consistent and just keep focused, and hope later on in the race that something comes into play for my sake. At this point in the race, I felt like I had a little bit more pace than James, and I was deciding whether or not it would be best to pit, as I didn't want it to slow the pair of us down. Hindsight, maybe I could have pitted, however, I didn't really want to make a pit stop too early. I wanted to make a pit stop later on in the race. heading down the straight now into turn 1. There's a driver that James is about to lap, and I tried to do a bit of a wider line to do a switchback, and it actually almost makes me go on the grass. So that was a very, very close call, a bit too close for my liking. So as myself and James Kimberley, aka Thunder Racing, head into a bit of traffic, he makes the decision to go for his second pit stop, which was a pretty good idea, to be fair, from him. So it doesn't cost him too much time battling with drivers ahead. So that worked well for him, but I knew that he made 2 pit stops by this point, which worked into my favour later on this race. So heading off the bridge, I get a really nice run down the straight here. I'm right on the bumper of one of the Radio drag drivers, heading up into turn 1 now. I give him a bit of a bump because his braking point was a little bit sooner than mine and it caught me massively off guard. So I purposely let off here and let him back through on the inside of the hairpin to avoid any sort of penalty, and most importantly keeping it fair to my fellow competitors. But he waves me through, which was nice of him. So yeah, fair play to the Radio drag driver. So we're around 30 minutes into the race at this point, halfway into the race, and I was gapped so hard by Tom Northcote. I couldn't keep up with him, so at this point I'm just trying to keep hold of a potential second, as I knew Thunder Racing James Kimberley was looking very strong. So he was on a different sort of strategy to me. He was in a complete different area of the track, so it was hard to work out where he was in comparison to myself at this point anyways, and I just wanted to try and keep it consistent and do the best I could to try and hold that P2. Although I was trying to keep consistent all race, I was also overdriving and making silly decisions. As you can see here, into the second hairpin, I thought the gap would have been left open. I assumed wrong, and I made a big mistake. So I let the drivers back past, full well knowing I was in the wrong. I did not want to get a penalty. I wanted to give the positions back, but in doing so, I lose another position to a driver that I passed previously. So I've lost a big chunk of time there, and yeah, huge mistake from my behalf, and I apologise to those drivers. Again, on the subject of making mistakes, I come down the inside here. I do give the driver a little bit of a tap. In that moment, I didn't think it was a bad move. There was a little bit of contact, but as you can see, as we're going to cross the line shortly, I do end up getting a black and white board. So I had to be on best behaviour for the rest of the race. I couldn't afford any sort of penalty. So, with 15 minutes left to go of the race, I knew I need to start making some pit stops. I had 3 mandatory pit stops to make, and this was the first one. And not long after that, I come in to make my second stop. The brake didn't feel too good on this kart. I wasn't too fond of it, so I didn't really want to risk it too much. So I come in and I change my kart again. So as I come across the start-finish line, I notice James Kimberley, aka Dundred Racing, coming out of the pits, completing his 3 pit stops. I've only made 2 pit stops at this point, bear in mind. I still have to make 1 more. Some of the viewers right now might be thinking, why aren't you overtaking him? I may look a little bit faster than him, however, I had good reason for that. To begin with, if I was to overtake him now, I'd be 1 full lap ahead. I knew a pit stop would be 20 seconds. So therefore, I knew all I had to do was pit from here, and I would end up finishing P2 in the race. Also, this is the guy that I'm battling for the championship with right now. I didn't want to cause any tension between us for the final 3 rounds of the season after a potential city move for myself. So on the last lap, I come into the pit to serve my 3rd and final stop. And now I have to sit here for 20 seconds, which felt like an eternity. I was looking around my shoulder, trying to work out where the other drivers were on the track, watching the checker flag ahead of me, but it was enough to take P2. As you see, James Kimberley just going under the bridge there, come across the line in the pits to finish P2. Although I only finished P2 this race, this does put me into the lead of the championship. Congrats to Tom Northcott on the win and James Kimberley for P3. It's been a very good season so far, and hopefully that continues. This has been a very different video for myself, doing a voiceover. I'm not sure if you guys like it or not. Please let me know in the comments below. Maybe I'll do it again, but I'd love to hear feedback. Let me know what you guys think. But thanks for watching, and we're back in 3 weeks for round 4.